Oh, well, then you could just, enunciate it. I'm sure you sing better than you credit yourself. I've got 9:01 here. Is everybody on board? Good morning, Ty Warner. Good morning, Tom Schmidt. And good morning, Greg Stinson. Those of you who've been gracious.
Good morning,
Good to see you. Hi, Mitch.
Everybody else.
Hi, Jeff. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Michael.
Commissioner Matthias has that really cool logo in the background. I love that. I want one of those. I'm just wearing it on my chest. I would like one of them. I have, the background you see is in my study, which looks relatively okay. If you could just see a bit below, you'd see how disheveled it is. I sort of am an example of living chaos theory. All right. Ms. Eklund, do you know if we have a quorum established yet?
I'm sorry, Michael, I do not.
All right, I know we're going to have a roll call to do that. So
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call the meeting to order. And I'm going to ask that you join me in, I meant to get this down, the Pledge of Allegiance. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 18 flag, the third flag of 27 iterations. It is legal. It was established by the Flag Act, and it is lawful to honor. It is the first flag that exhibited a star that had Indiana represented. So let us begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Illinois got a flag because it was the 21st state. There's actually a 21-star U.S. flag. We didn't get to have a 19-star flag because Mississippi messed it up for us by coming in relatively the same time. So the first July 4th following admission is when the stars get added. So we're the 19th state on a 20-star flag. But that's your encyclopedic nerd history for this morning. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to our meeting of the Northwest Indiana Regional Plan Commission, convening electronically. I'm now calling us to order following our Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to recognize our venerable attorney, David Hollenbach, to make his report representing any members of the commission that have been duly appointed and to represent to opine on the nature of the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. We've received one certificate of appointment since we last convened, and that comes from the city of Whiting. We've received an appointment certificate from the mayor, and the mayor is appointing himself to our commission. So, Steve, welcome. And the certificate of appointment is in proper form, and I believe he is here with us this morning. So he is duly appointed and seating as a member of this commission.
Good morning and thank you.
And welcome, Mayor Spivak, and thank you very much, David. Is there anything further?
That's the only appointment we have, and that's the only thing that we'd handle on this part of the agenda.
Very good. I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Michael, I apologize. Tom Dermody joining. We had some technical difficulty.
Mayor Dermody, no need to apologize. You're welcome to be here. You're just in time before we're going to begin the call of the roll in order to ascertain if we've achieved a quorum. So, Ms. Candace Eklund, I recognize you, if you please, if you would call the roll.
Certainly. Okay, so when I call your name, you can just simply say here. Kyle Allen, Dwayne Arndt, Jeanette Baps.
Here.
Janet Beck. I'm sorry, Janet Beck. Jeff Benson.
Here.
Jim Biggs. Kevin Brightsky.
Here.
Charlie Brown.
Here.
Bill Carroll. Robert Carnahan. Anthony Copeland. Joshleen Denham. Tom Dermody.
Present.
John Derwinski.
Here.
Dinah Doombris. Bill Emerson.
Here.
Michael Griffin.
Here.
Richard Hardaway.
Here.
Tony Hendricks. Eric Hall.
Here.
Jack Geralds. Jack Geralds. Tim Jones. Justin Keel.
Here.
Andrew Kiris.
Here.
Jeff Larson. Robert LeMay. Sue Lynch.
Here.
Sheila Matias.
Present.
Tom McDermott. Lori Mercer. Wendy Miss.
Present.
Edward Morales. Matt Murphy. Diane Knoll.
Here.
Duane Perry.
Present.
David Peeler. Jerome Prince. Michael Rosenbaum. Rick Rifa. Carolyn Saxton.
Here.
Tom Schmidt.
I know these here. I saw him earlier.
Thought I did as well. We count him, Michael?
Yes, I know he's present. He
Okay,
must
thank
be blocked.
Okay.
Tom Schmidt's here.
Brian Snedecor.
Present.
Ed Soliday. Steve Spibar.
Here.
Greg Stinson.
Here.
Gerald Swets.
Here.
Sharon Zuido. Mary Tanis. I thought I saw her.
She
Mary
is. We had a
Tanis.
conversation. There she is.
Okay. James Tunn.
Hello.
Hello.
Good. I'm on a Zoom call. I just want, that's okay. That's okay. Did you get my order?
Okay. James Tunn.
Not
George Topple.
I
Here.
sausage and peppers and mac
I'm sorry, you hear who?
and shrimp.
Mary has her iPad mic still on while she's concluding a call, so you can proceed.
Okay.
Okay.
George Topple.
Here.
He responded.
John Yelkich.
I need a shrimp with yeah. Okay.
That concludes the roll call.
This is Bob Carnahan. I just got on. I had trouble connecting.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you, Robert.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else now that is present with us that did not hear themselves called during the roll? Okay. Ms. Eklund? Sorry.
This is Tom Schmidt. Michael, do you hear me?
Yes, I did. And we counted you, I believe, in our roll call because I knew you were here.
Okay, thank you.
Because I had seen you in the morning and I actually said hello to you. And you
Okay.
ignored me, but I'm not
Oh.
hurt.
Hello, Michael.
Hello to you, Tom. Ms. Eklund, I have 26. Is that what you counted?
Yes, it is.
All right. So until a seventh member appears, we'll have to conduct the meeting by virtue of the executive committee. So all the commissioners are welcome to ask questions if they like, but motions cannot be made by anyone who's not a member of the executive committee. And my hope is that somebody who joins us and brings us to full quorum, we can actually then resolve ourselves into the full commission. I regret that, but I want our business to be able to be conducted today and have lawful import. Thank you, though, for being here, and good morning to everyone. Members of the
Good
commission, you have before you the enrolled minutes of the commission from its meeting of September 17th. I believe that this was convened as an executive board meeting. You've had an opportunity to see them. They've been on display for the required amount of time. Unless there is an objection to text or to substance, I will declare them approved under general consent. Is there any objection to that?
No.
Hearing none, then the person memorializing the proceedings should recognize that under general consent, the minutes of the meeting of September 17th, 2020 were adopted. Members of the commission, I'm going to ask your forbearance for something, and because under the statute, we are required to conduct a roll call for any vote that we take. That's a condition of being able to convene electronically in the statute, and it's consistent with the governor's order that authorizes it. And his order modifies a little bit of what we're allowed to do. I would like your forbearance to leave. We'll take up public comment at this time, but I'd like matters, report of the chair, report of the executive director, and to be placed at the end following technical planning committee. By that I mean, I'd like to move up the reports of the environmental committee, finance and personnel committee, and the technical planning committee. And I'd like to move them up, and I'd like to treat them as a consent matter. So if you consent to that by not objecting, what that will mean is following public comment, then I will recognize the environmental policy committee, then I will recognize finance and personnel committee, then I will recognize technical planning committee, and the actions that they are proposing will have already been reported to us, and then I'll ask for one roll call on all of the matters that are before us, unless there's an objection. So I'm asking to be able to convert the existing agenda by general consent into a consent agenda, and to also move those matters that I would like us to be able to attend to early in the meeting up forward to be taken up if there's no objection. Does everybody understand what I've suggested?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And since you can also raise your hand, there's a little feature if you want to do that as well. Hearing no objection, then let the record reflect that the chair, by general consent, modified the agenda the way I just described, and that we have conflated matters 8 and 9, those matters that require a vote, to be done as consented, matters of consent. So we'll take them all as one vote on all the matters unless there's an objection. And when we get to consent matters, if there's a decision to dissent from that, then we'll honor that as well. And I thank the commission for its forbearance, and I thank the executive board for its forbearance. And so I will now ask the executive director, has anyone signed in, or has anybody asked to be recognized under the portion of our agenda for public comment? Ty, are you still, I know you were here, I saw you.
Forgive me, sorry. Yes, I'm not aware of anyone desiring to speak. I don't know if Candy has heard from anyone.
I have not heard from anyone as well.
All right, well, pursuant to our rules, one needs to enroll and let us know. I do know that because we're on Zoom, that could be an awkward thing. So I am going to put out, is there anyone who is present that wishes to offer comment before the commission begins its business? Hearing none, then we will proceed in matters of public comment are closed. Consistent with the general consent that was granted me by the executive board, I'm going to now recognize not the chair who is present, Commissioner Bill Emerson, but instead his co-chair, Commissioner Jan Babst, to offer the report for the Environmental Management Policy Committee.
Yeah, the committee met on November 5th. We had a couple things on the agenda. We reviewed a couple local projects, including an agriculture restoration project that was very interesting. We then reviewed the transportation improvement program. We received one grant application from South Shore Clean Cities. And I believe this is for the 24-25 round. Kathy, if you can correct me if that's not right.
Yes.
We reviewed the self-scoring on that grant and approved it pending final review of the budget submitted. And that was the meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Babst. Does anybody have any questions of the commissioner with regard to the meeting? I thank you and the chair, Bill Emerson, for being present, and we thank you for your labors on that committee and for your report this morning. The next matter before us, we're moving into the consent agenda. So I'm going to recognize Richard Hardaway, our treasurer, who's also chair of the Finance and Personnel Committee. Commissioner Hardaway, if you would make your presentation, and then you can describe what the 2 actions are that you're asking for the executive board at this time, unless a quorum has been detected or been acquired. You'll do that presentation and we'll vote on that at the end.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Personnel Committee met this morning to review the financial reports for October 2020. Also reviewed were the bank reconciliation and claims registers. And there are 2 actions for consideration today, and they come highly recommended for approval from the Finance and Personnel Committee. One is an addendum to Executive Director's employment agreement, and the other is the 2020 calendar year budget. And at this time, I'd like for our attorney, Mr. Hollenbeck, to speak on the addendum for the Executive Director.
Thank you, Richard. Mr. Chairperson and members of the Executive Board, as Richard indicates, this comes with the support of the Finance and Personnel Committee. It involves your employment of Ty Warner as your Executive Director. In November of 2018, we entered into a 3-year employment agreement with Ty to serve in that capacity. That contract provides for an annual sit down with the chairperson and Ty to review his performance, look at his goal accomplishments, and that has occurred. And the other part of that is that the chairperson is to recommend to the Personnel and Finance Committee a salary for the coming calendar year. And I'll observe 2021 will be the 3rd and final year of the 3-year agreement that we currently have with our Executive Director. The addendum that you find on page 9 reflects the recommendation of the chairperson and also the unanimous recommendation of the Finance and Personnel Committee that Ty receive a salary increase for calendar year 2021 in the amount of 3%, which would bring his annualized salary to $156,716.52. The remaining aspects of the employment agreement would remain in full force and effect in 2021, which again is the last year of the current 3-year agreement. Answer any questions anyone may have, but we are looking as the Finance and Personnel Committee for an affirmative approval of this by the Executive Board.
Are there any questions from members of the Executive Board or any member of the...
Hello? Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Yes. Is that Commissioner Tun?
Yes, yes. I had the wrong meeting ID number on my email. I'm sorry. I apologize for being late. I did listen to the presentation previous.
All right. I believe with your presence, that brings us to 27. Ms. Eklund, is that your count as well?
Yes, yes, that is my count, 27.
That defines a quorum for us, does it not?
Yes, sir, it does.
Correct.
Hello?
Thank you, Mr. Ten.
All right. So that the commission is aware now, we are convened as a full commission, and any motion may be raised by any member of the commission that so desires it. I would like to point out to my colleagues on the commission that I have been briefed about this by both Mr. Hollenbeck and also our Executive Director, and that it is likely that this increase, if approved by the board, by the commission, will likely be also one that would be enjoyed by the staff as well. In terms of any budget constraints, the revenue sources that primarily are resources for the mission of NERPC are not as constrained or adversely affected by economic cycles, nor are they adversely affected by the COVID pandemic. Some of us who are serving in our local communities know that we take a big hit on our gasoline tax because there was a drop in driving consistent with sheltering in place, and people aren't traveling as much, although that's coming back. but those aren't primary sources for the commission. So are there any questions by the commissioners about this? Okay, consistent with the consent agenda, consent that the board granted us, we're not going to take a vote on this yet. We're going to also, unless there's an objection, we're going to move into the technical planning committee, hear that report, and then we're going to take one vote on all 4 items, absent objection. Hearing none, then I'm going to recognize Kevin Britsky as technical planning committee chair.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
We still have to go over the budget.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I'm sorry. Thank you.
That's okay.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Talea?
Yes. Yes.
Are you ready?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. You want to go over the budget?
Sure, go ahead. Yes. Keep points in 2021 proposed budget on page 13. Attachment A, revenues. Revenues increased from 2020 to 2021 by 32%. In year 2021, 2020, NORPC was designated as an economic development district. And with that designation, increase in federal funds were granted. Also with the current state of the economy, NORPC has been granted additional CARES Act 2020 funding to help in certain areas within the agency. So that's why we have a 32% increase in revenues. As far as salary, we have a slight increase in salaries for additional economic development positions, which are funded by our CARES Act fund. So from budgeted year 2020 to 2021, we have a 6% increase. Under our fringe benefits, we also have an increase of 5% due to the additional staff members that were added to the salary category. Under the occupancy, we had a slight increase of 2% within budgeted years. We have a lease that increased for the 2021 year. Equipment, there's a slight increase in equipment. We have some new machinery that is coming forth, and we have to fund additional software programs. Under the departmental, I'm looking at this, the increase, we have a percentage change from year 20 to 2021, 56% increase due to leftover unspent 2020 funding from our PO funds for the planning department. So we had to rebudget it, that amount of money that is unspent in 2020. Under contractual, our percentage increased from 2020 to 2021 of 61%, and that was due to the CARES Act funding, which relates to new programs for the Economic Development Department. Let's see, I can't see this. On page 22, if you can flip over to page 22 for me. This report shows the budget for the new EDD program for the revolving loan fund for all 3 counties, which is funded through the CARES Act 2020 funding. Overall, our budget has increased by 32% due to the new CARES Act money from the EDD program and also for our FTA subrecipients. And also we had to reprogram some of our PO funding from 2020. Richard, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Talea or the Finance and Personnel Committee pertaining to the budget?
No.
Thank you. At this time, Mr. Chairman, the Finance and Personnel Committee is asking the full commission for adoption of the proposed 2021 calendar year budget. And I'd like to thank Mr. Hollenbeck for his portion and Ms. Jones for her portion. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
I thank you, Commissioner Hardaway, and thank you for the work with both you and all the members of the committee and the attorney and our finance director and his contribution to the heavy lifting on that. Thank you. Again, I'm just going to remind everybody in the commission, we've converted this to a consent agenda. So if anybody objects, we can take a roll call vote on those matters now. But what I believe we consented to is to move to the next matter and have those reports given. Unless somebody objects, we'll pull it from the consent agenda, and then we will basically proceed to take one vote on all the items that are before us, which I believe are 4 at the end of the reporting period. Hearing no objection, then I'm going to proceed to the Technical Planning Committee and recognize its chair, Commissioner Kevin Breesky. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Michael, and everybody. The Technical Planning Committee met on Tuesday, November 10th. The TPC heard a presentation from Gary Public Transportation Corporation about the purchase of electric buses for the Broadway Metro Express route. The buses are scheduled to be operational by early 2022. Please contact David Wright with GPTC for more information. There are 2 actions for consideration today. The first action is Resolution 2027, the e-commerce in Northwest Indiana report, which you all have probably received by now. The resolution is found on page 25 of your packet, and the TPC recommends adoption of Resolution 2027. And now Scott Weber and Iman Ibrahim will present on the report. Iman will be presenting from Egypt.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And hello from Egypt, from Cairo.
It's amazing.
Okay, so I will share the screen now, and let's see here. Hey, Meredith, can I think, do I have authorization to do it? Yep, I got it here.
Yeah, you should. I've stopped.
Okay, yeah, okay. Share this, and here you go. Okay, so we're good?
Yes. Visible. Thank you.
Okay. So this project came as one of the recommendations from the 2050 plan, since now it's growing and growing. And I have a team here with me. I have Scott and I have Peter and Kevin. We all did the project in-house, which was very, very good, like challenging project, because the e-commerce project was the first study done in Northwest Indiana. And so we struggled a little bit with the data, but we also enjoyed having this project. So basically, as I mentioned, it came out of the 2050 plan, out of how to improve our connectivity within the region and also be ready for e-commerce since it's growing. If you go back again for the first map, this map was showing the second quarter of 2020. And in this one showing the e-commerce activities, and the dark green, which we can see here, the US, some of the country, India and Saudi Arabia, we were almost depending on e-commerce at 100%. And that was unexpected to have this change. So we had all the analysis started last year in October, but also we consider all of the changes happened during the COVID-19. So, but like how to be ready, because before the COVID, the e-commerce share in the retail market was almost 12%. Now it's almost more than doubled within the retail market. But also the NDOT expected that the freight by the year 2050 will increase by almost 40%. But also after the COVID, we do expect that it will be more than that. And we have to look at our transportation network and how we can be ready and have improvements for the increase of the freight traffic. We also have like a significant demand on facilities like warehousing, distribution centers, and the last mile delivery like FedEx and UPS, and also the USPS and other Amazon and other last mile delivery. Scott will go over the NRPC household travel survey, and then I will continue after that.
Yeah, so as Iman alluded to, we conducted a household travel survey in the fall of 2018 and into early 2019, where we looked at the difference in the 2018 survey from the 2008 survey 10 years prior. We found that the number of shopping trips in Northwest Indiana had dropped by 12%, which is a very significant drop. And meanwhile, while the number of shopping trips was dropping, we looked also at the vehicle miles traveled and then also the truck portion of the vehicle miles traveled in the most recent 5 years of data available. We found that the percentage of traffic on the roads and highways was more trucks than it was 5 years prior. So we could see that even while shopping trips were decreasing, the number of truck trips were increasing, indicating that e-commerce is indeed a very prevalent trend here in Northwest Indiana.
Thank you, Scott. We had a lot of analysis, but also I would like to highlight that like when we look at the transportation and warehousing employment change, in the last 2 years, just 2 years increased by almost 50%. And we can see that these activities is increasing. Warehousing and transportation within our region, which is in this data here is an economic growth region 1, which include Lake, Porter, LaPorte, Newton, Jasper, Strake, and Pulaski. So in this one, we have almost 17.6 of all industry is transportation, and it's more than Indianapolis by itself because they have 15.1. We have a good chance to capture e-commerce within our region. So we have like a good freight hub. We have the east-west, connecting 80, 94, and 90, connecting the east coast to the west coast, and that's running through Indiana. We also have like a very good best tax environment. We are represent the 9th within the region, and that's also encouraging businesses to come to our area. Of course, the proximity to the second largest FedEx here in Indy, and we got now the UPS, which is great also. The proximity to Chicago, that's also give us a good chance since also congestion is increasing in Chicago. This give us a good opportunity to locate the warehouses and last mile delivery within our region. So we have a good base to start and take the opportunity of e-commerce. In this map also showing the 100-mile radius around the largest regional fulfillment market in the US. And as you see, we are within the Chicago region, and we also close to the Columbus and Indianapolis also. It's one of the smallest region. And the good thing that when they locate warehousing and distribution centers, they look at the area that has like a high percentage of millennials because they consider the highest number of population that they are using e-commerce. And that's for them a very good factor to locate warehousing and distribution. This map, summarized, all the analysis that we did for the e-commerce. So to look at the best location and potential location, so we had to run a number of analyses, and we put some of the criteria, which is, the proximity to transportation hub and highway, and also all of the industry, the existing and future warehouses and distribution centers. Also the Amazon hub locker. We also look at the omni stores that they consider now as a parcel delivery location, like Walmart, Macy's, Kohl's, all of these locations, we put it together within a 2-mile buffer. And we also have a consideration of all of the environmental impacts, like floodplain and other environmental issues that wouldn't waiting. Okay. That's a nice share with us. So all of the blue area here are the potential location for if we would like to locate any of the future warehouses, and this can help the communities, can help with the Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development, the Northwest Indiana Forum. So when they wanted to locate, they will know right away the best location. And Scott he also run the transportation modeling, and he even have a better location, and he will present that now. Scott?
Yeah, thank you, Iman. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about all the results of the travel demand modeling, but we did analyze potential e-commerce investments in Northwest Indiana in 5 possible clusters. So we looked at a cluster in northern Lake County, a cluster kind of in central southern Lake County, a cluster in northern Porter County, a cluster in central Porter County, and a cluster in LaPorte County. And we looked at how they compared with looking into the future, what the projected impacts on traffic congestion, both in terms of vehicle miles traveled and vehicle hours traveled might be. And we just found that the cluster in LaPorte County actually performed best in being able to absorb that future traffic from an e-commerce investment, which was kind of surprising to us, but it could just be because there's more congestion in Lake County right now. So anyway, we looked at the results of that in this report.
Thank you, Scott. So as e-commerce is a good opportunity for our region, but also it has like an adverse impact, and we were also researching and thinking how to fix the adverse impact. We have so many trucks coming to residential area now, which is considering, like a safety issue with all of these delivery trucks. So we looked at some communities, they already posting signage indicating delivery trucks to slow down. They lowered the speed limit. They also have pump outs at crosswalks. The multi-family buildings, also they have recommendation, and the new one now try to establish a central drop-off area. So will be convenient for all the residents of multi-families to pick up their stuff. Also the repurposing of vacant retail space. So malls, we have like a significant vacancy now in malls, especially we have in the South Lake. If we looked at the square footage is almost 50%. So, and how we transfer these vacant spaces into shared creative work spaces. And the architects came up with the very good, cool ideas. And I can share that with you now. So they can turn it to a health club, to a community college, to medical centers, and some already implemented that. That was Macy's and some other stores in mall. It was vacant and it was turned to medical facilities, and that's from inside. So, and some other very good examples, I'm just showing few of them here to get an idea how to repurpose the vacant spaces. Also the empty big boxes, we have that was Walmart in Texas, and they converted, it was vacant for so many years, and they converted to a very state-of-the-art library, which was actually as a landmark, a very, very creative facility, and they used the whole building and the parking lot. They just have some addition to the facades, but they used all the spaces and make it so beautiful as you see. And that's from inside, how they convert the Walmart. So that's some of the examples of the vacant facilities, how they can repurpose that. We have so many recommendations, but one of them, I'm highlighting some of them now, which is the workforce should be ready and train people now for all the future logistics job demand that are increasing now. So we have to be ready for that. Also, the e-commerce now for any comprehensive transportation plan has to be addressed within these plans. Also, the demand for warehousing and distribution centers that exceed 250,000 square feet. So that's what we are looking for now. That's the ideal square footage for e-commerce. Also creating loading zones in high traffic, especially downtown area, and especially at Christmas time. As you see here, one of the picture in downtown It's a big mess. They impede traffic. So now they are coming up with the more ideas to have a specific loading zones. It could be on the side of the building, behind the buildings, or they have a specific lane for loading. So these are some of the recommendations, but we have so many recommendations related to transportation and land use. And also we have some idea about the implementation of the e-commerce, the different funds that we get through Indiana, through NERC, through the IEDC, also through OCRA. So we have a number because we have some recommendations for future implementation out of the e-commerce plan. That's like a big general study or plan, but like we have coming out of that sub-area plans and how to identify specific like delivery, the fastest delivery routes. We need to map that and see, like how they get fast delivery, because that's the competition now if we wanted to capture the opportunity of the e-commerce. So that's like a quick idea about the report. The report is listed on the website. It was also listed with the agenda of this committee. So, and we already had a public review for 1 week. We only received one comment for this report. So, and that's conclude my presentation with Scott.
Thank you, Iman. Does anybody have any questions for Iman or for Scott? I'd just make the observation that this is the economic development opportunity that we're looking forward to, and it's going to be for the next decade, something all of our communities need to consider.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
Mr. Britsky, thank you. I love that idea. I have two comments about that. One is local government funds. We're pretty strapped as it is. There is in the law now an opportunity for vocational training to be supported in your public schools from tax increment finance proceeds. It's a relatively new provision in the state law that allows us to use that. But I do like the thinking on that. I also like the idea that we're trying to right size storage. So it seems to me what e-commerce really is about conventions of retail have changed. That's the most significant thing that's changed. But we still have higher traffic and higher delivery demands because the retail activity hasn't changed in terms of the demand for it or how much it impacts the economy, except for the classic big box brick and mortar retail. That probably has to right size. A lot of the places that have done that already are, interestingly enough, car dealerships that got facilitated as part of the recovery plan after the 2008 recession. So are there any comments from the commission?
I have a comment. I guess I'm looking at that implementation plan and wondering if we're prioritizing the expansion of broadband as a regional effort, because e-commerce is obviously deeply connected to broadband, and broadband is such a complex issue that it takes quite a bit of manpower, financial manpower, and also collaboration across regional and governmental jurisdictions. So is that a focus for Tyus nodding his head? Is that a focus coming out of this report that we work as a region on broadband?
Yes, we included that in the report. As I mentioned, I wasn't able to present all the recommendations that we have, but it's included within the report. And we also identified what kind of funding that could help with the broadband.
And we want
to great observation. Thank you, because all of this hinges on that as we've become all too aware in this current time.
We just want to be aware, and as an engineer, I can tell you the technology is changing so rapidly. We're just trying to stay ahead of it and make sure we make prudent investment in any of this so it's not obsolete by the time we get a return of investment.
Well, as long as there's Disney Plus and Netflix, I think broadband's going to matter. And let me remind you, Imam is talking to us from Cairo, Egypt, not Cairo, Illinois. So keep that in mind. And her image is just as crisp and has the high contrast that any of you have who are next door. So
Right, that's K-Row.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Kara.
Commissioner Stinson, thank you.
If I could just make one more comment about broadband based on what was just talked about, return on investment. So for a county like LaPorte, where which I represent, we are a county that has lots of rural areas. They are not of high interest to the corporate broadband suppliers. They just aren't. But that doesn't reduce the need. For example, e-learning has been a huge challenge in our county because those rural children still need to get online and do their e-learning. So if we're expecting to look at the data on e-commerce and make it applicable to our entire region, I think that is probably the most critical piece of work that needs to get done. And it's a really, as everyone knows, it's a really complex project.
I just want to echo Commissioner Matthias's comments. One of the concerns I have is that broadband's fairly easy if you're in a highly urbanized area, but we have significant population in the state of Indiana where it's not available. And so if ordinary market forces aren't going to bring it there, and I would even argue there's parts of the urban area, I think it's kind of spotty in parts of East Chicago and parts of Gary as well. So one encouraging note is a friend of mine who's now going to be the former mayor of Huntingburg, Denny Spinner, has been recently appointed to head OKRA, which you saw on our slide, the Office of Community and Rural Affairs. And he's a small town mayor. He comes from a rural area. And one of the things he's been an advocate for is if we can't get incentives to make the private sector, for whatever their business model is, to be able to provide more broadband, for all the reasons Commissioner Matthias said, e-commerce to me is almost as essential as a public convenience and necessity as water and stormwater and sewer, in the same way that telephones and electric lines are. I believe that. And so he will be somebody who will be very sympathetic to that and an advocate for expanding that, which will be good for all of us, but especially our neighbors in LaPorte.
Mr. Chairman.
Is there, do you want to proceed with the rest of the report?
Can I raise a question?
Oh, I beg your pardon. Yes, Commissioner Brown.
How does this tie into the State Department of Education in terms of their curriculum and preparing for things like this? Did you hear me?
I did. I don't know if Scott or Ibram. Imam, did you hear the question from Commissioner Brown?
No, but I think it's related to education. That's what I heard, few words.
Yes.
So what was the question again?
How do we tie this into the curriculum from the State Department of Education? Are they prepared for e-commerce, and what we should be preparing K through 12 in the next century or the next decade or so?
Yeah, in this report, like we are focusing on transportation, land use, and communications, but we have some recommendation about that, like how to prepare. But I think that will be a next step, as we look more at the e-commerce, like we could have some recommendation, but like we did not address the education part as much, since it's not like in NERC's domain.
I might add, thank you, Nan, for the answer. Thanks for the question. Originally get us off on the broadband issue, Commissioner Matthias. I just wanted to comment that we have this report, which I just thank staff for all the time they spent putting this together and getting it to this point. But we have more things coming on the pipeline that I think may be able to get at that question more directly. And your question, Commissioner Brown, I was going to mention this under my director's report, but I'll say it now. As part of our function as the Economic Development District, as we've talked about many times, we've received funds to do several pandemic recovery activities. And one of those that we have agreed to do with the U.S. Economic Development Administration is a resiliency plan, talking about how this region recovers not only from the current pandemic that we're in, but for future events that the pandemic has just spotlighted. So whether that's, heaven forbid, future pandemics or other disruptive events, how does this nation, how does it, well, that's true too, but how does this region in particular come together to be able to foster its own resiliency to recover faster from these events? So these issues of broadband will definitely be part of that. And with you bringing that to the table of education, as Iman said, this has not been typically an area that NERC has stepped into, but as we are a council of governments, and that is a concern of all of yours, as we develop that resiliency document and strategy, there's certainly an opportunity to build on this work and make it even more robust in terms of trying to come back from economic downturns. So thank you for bringing it up, and I think we have the opportunity to do that going forward.
Thank you.
I think one of the avenues that we really need to take is looking at the Indiana standards and having them change. And how do we do that? We do that through our legislative committee with AIM to work on that. But education is so important. But in the standards, these kinds of things are not addressed. Right. You need to look at the Indiana standards and change them K through 12 to address these issues. But if you let them know, you know, they will do that. But I sympathize with the teachers and the parents at this point in time because it's just not in there. We need to help them.
Spoken like a retired professional educator. I thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I recognize that. In fact, I'm probably the most radical person in this meeting because I think we should work towards not just K through 12, but K through 14.
Absolutely.
I believe with all my heart that a high school education will not prepare you for the modern requirements of an economy that gives you a decent life. So I do think K through 14, and if you want a baccalaureate degree, that could be on your own. But I think that fundamental first 2 years, whether it be 2 years towards a baccalaureate or 2 years towards a trade or basically community college preparations, I just believe that that's more and more becoming what we should be thinking about. And everybody has offered something that is vital and helpful and added to the sum of human knowledge today. Thank you.
Yes.
Is there a balance of your report, Commissioner Britsky, that you would like to share, please?
The final action, the second action, is for Resolution 2028, which can be found on page 26 of your packet. This is an amendment to the fiscal year 2021 to 2022 Unified Planning Work Program, or UPWP. Kathy Luther will explain the action and present the proposed updates. The Technical Planning Committee recommends adoption of Resolution 2028 as well. Kathy?
Good morning.
Morning.
Can everybody hear me? I had to switch from my computer to my phone for some reason. I got kicked out the other way, so apologize if it looks or sounds weird. You have in your packet the details of this UPWP amendment. You may remember from the budget presentation that we have unexpended funds in our transportation funding from 2020. In order to spend those in 2021 and 2022, we have to amend them into the UPWP. So that is the purpose of this resolution. The total unspent federal funds that we're moving into the UPWP and recommending for the budget are $86,243 in CMAQ funds. That's part of our air quality public education program, and that is mostly for contracts that are holding over from last year, didn't get completed, or advertising contracts that were never designed to be completed by June. Then we have $3,000 in surface transportation funds, and we have $559,306 in planning funds. Since we have a window where some of our transit funds have no match, we can program some of these federal dollars internally, and we've primarily focused on one-time contracts or equipment or software programs that will increase our efficiency in the future. So you have the details of what the new projects are in your packet, starting on page, I lost the page number.
27.
Thank you, 27. So I don't want to go in a ton of detail on that, but essentially the biggest addition is in the data collection equipment and supplies. So that's trail counters, which Mitch has secured commitments for local match for those. And then we have several contracts to improve, like our modeling software, and do our work on a ETIP that will be compatible with this one that INDOT is developing, some other kind of contractual studies, and a couple of local, other local planning studies. So the total addition is in all that is $551,998, and then the balance is kind of distributed around into salaries here and there, so that we are committing all of the balanced funds into this new UPWP. Does anyone have any questions about any of the specific items in the packet?
I think this was done with a lot of thoughtful consideration just to get the biggest bang for our buck and promote our program. Any other questions? If not, Mr. Chairman, the next meeting of Technical Planning Committee will be Tuesday, January 12th, 2021 at 10 a.m. We'll find out if it's going to be in person or virtual next year. But we'll share that information prior to the meeting date. Thank you.
I thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank you. I thank the members of the TPC. I get to be a part of that from time to time, and I appreciate the heavy lifting that goes on over there. All right, with the leave of the commission, and I appreciate that, we are now, it's in order for us to take up as one matter the consent agenda items. So by way of restoring or bringing to recollection what we're about to act upon, by virtue of your general consent to allow these to all be consent agenda matters, I will ask for a vote on, all at once, adoption of the addendum to the employment contract for our executive director. One vote will take that up. It will also take up the matter of our 2021 budget. It will also take up the matter of the e-commerce plan. It will also take up the matter of resolution 2028, which is our amendment number 3 to our transportation improvement plan. Are there any questions about that? Is there anyone who wishes to raise an objection to take one of those up separately? Hearing none, then, the chair will receive a motion to adopt the matters on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the matters on the consent agenda. I believe Commissioner Brown made the motion to approve. The seconder was Commissioner Britsky. Do the proponents wish to speak in favor of their motion? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the motion? Hearing neither, I'm going to ask Ms. Eklund if she would most graciously call the roll.
Yes, I will. And I'll also call each member's name again, just in case somebody new has joined us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Kyle Allen. Dwayne Arndt. Jeanette Bapps. Jeanette Bapps. Janet Beck.
Yes.
Was that Janet Beck? I'm sorry.
Yes, it is me.
Thank you so much. Jeff Benson.
Aye.
Jim Biggs. Kevin Brightsky.
Yes.
Charlie Brown.
Yes.
Bill Carroll. Robert Carnahan.
Yes.
Anthony Copeland. Jocelyn Denham. Tom Dermody.
Yes.
John Derwinski. John Derwinski. Dinah Dumbras. Bill Emerson. Michael Griffin.
Yes.
Richard Hardaway.
Yes.
Tony Hendricks. Eric Hall.
Yes.
Jack Geralds. Tim Jones. Justin Keel.
Yes.
Andrew Kiris. Jeff Larson. Robert Lemay. Sue Lynch.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Sheila Matthias.
Yes.
Tom McDermott. Lori Mercer. Wendy Miss.
Yes.
Edward Morales. Matt Murphy. Diane Knoll.
Yes.
Dwayne Perry. David Peeler. Jerome Prince. Michael Rosenbaum. Rick Rifa. Carolyn Saxton. Tom Schmidt. Brian Snedecor.
Yes.
Ed Soliday. Steve Spebar.
Yes.
Greg Stinson.
Yes.
Gerald Swets.
Yes.
Karen Zuido. Mary Tanis.
Yes.
James Tunn.
Jim Dunn, yes.
Thank you.
Candace, Andrew Karis is a yes. I was on mute, sorry.
This is
Sorry,
what.
who was?
Wait a
Andrew
minute.
Karis.
Hold on. We'll let her complete the roll call, and I've made a list of the people that I know are here that we missed in the first round, and we'll ask her to do a second round if that's acceptable, because it gets to be complicated on Zoom if everybody talks at once. It's not good at filtering that out. So please forbear. Ms. Eklund, we can recognize Andrew Karis's vote and then proceed where you left off, please.
Okay. George Topple
Yes.
and John Yelkich. That concludes the roll call, Michael.
All right. Mayor Perry, your name was called. Did you respond?
Yes, I did, Mr. Griffin. It is a yes. I apologize.
Thank you.
I was muted.
Very well. What about Carolyn Saxon? Carolyn Saxton, second call. Tom Schmidt, second call. Tom Schmidt, second call.
Yes.
Hearing no response, then the chair finds that there were 22 in the affirmative, no negatives. The motion passes. All the matters are adopted. I thank the commission. Thank you, Ms. Eklund. You did a great job. You're like a professional congressional level clerk. That's so well done. I appreciate it very much. Because the body allowed us to, and that's high praise for me, because those people, I know something of their work. That's a big deal. So it would now be in order to resume the portion of the agenda that you allowed me to move. The report of the chair, I'll make my report brief. There's nothing new to report since last time. I continue to work with the executive director in between meetings for matters about meeting scheduling. I am working on, which is a project from the last time I was in this place, and even not refining the rules. I've had a meeting since the last time I spoke about this with you, developing rules for the commission to consider and adopt. I met with, this has been a while ago now, I met with Mr. Hollenbeck and with the executive director. They have to go through one more iteration of refinement. The staff will have to review them once, but I hope eventually that will get to your place. And I hope to get some matters. We're just learning what the legislature is going to do. They're trying to accommodate a pandemic, but I do think that I would like to work on not only the budget matter that we think needs to be fixed for NERC. I hope to work on making sure NERC is allowed to continue this in the after the governor won't need an order anymore to allow it, to allow NERC to be able to have meetings electronically as we do now. That concludes my report unless there's any questions of the chair. Hearing none, then I'm going to recognize our executive director. Ty, please present your report.
Great, thank you, Mr. Griffin. I know this has been a challenge for pretty much everybody in these times, and I don't need to, you're very much aware of the state's new system and that Lake and Porter have been moved into the red category. I know many of your city halls are already closed, and so it was a sobering time for everyone. Staff had been going in 2 days a week. We pulled that back to remote only again, and we'll likely continue that into January for the time being. But that shouldn't dissuade any of you from contacting any of us. I'm really proud of the way staff has just completely made everything seamless and has stayed available and is able to be contacted by phone, email, as if we were all in the office. So just know that we're available, even though we are laying out of the office for a period of time until things hopefully start trending back downward again. I mentioned the EDA grant that we've received related from the CARES Act funds and the resiliency plan. So we will keep you posted as we head into that. With the CARES Act funds also became available some monies to hire some new staff, as I believe we've talked about before. And I'm really happy to be able to introduce one of those two positions that we have brought on board, which is Lucas Eklund Baker. And I believe Lucas is on the call. I don't know if I should embarrass him by asking him to make himself visible or known, and I won't necessarily throw him. Thank you, Lucas, for shaking up. I didn't want to throw you to the wolves, so to speak. Not that these commissioners are anything close to wolves. They're very nice people, all of them. But Lucas is very helpful to have on board, and I'm really excited about what he's going to do. I have wanted for a very long time to be able to have a designated communications person on staff. And Lucas comes to us to fulfill a new role that we've created with the help of these CARES Act funds as a communications specialist. Lucas has a master's in communications from Purdue in West Lafayette and lives right here in the region, and really happy to have him on board. So welcome, Lucas, and he's already hitting the ground running. Very good. And then another thing I'm going to go ahead, I don't think I'm really supposed to share this, but because we're just among friends and nobody else is listening on this conversation at all, and it's not being recorded or anything like that, which of course nothing that I've just said is true in the least. Just yesterday, you're aware of the Volkswagen mitigation grants that have been going on, and thanks to the work of our partners at South Shore Clean Cities, 24 electric vehicle charging stations were awarded about $206,000 between NERC and MACOG, which is the Michiana Area Council of Governments, our neighbors to the east around South Bend that we work with very closely as well. So between the two of us in Northern Indiana, 43% of those total grants awarded went to our two regions. So I think that speaks really, really highly to the coordination that happens up here and the work of South Shore Clean Cities that we're very thankful to be partners with. So that's my sort of secret announcement before real announcements get made about that award. So congratulations to everybody involved and those communities that will be the recipients of those charging stations. I should have mentioned this is for level 2 charging stations specifically. So again, all going with things that we already talked about with broadband, e-commerce, which also speaks to the need for alternative fuels and more ways to be able to power those delivery vans going around your neighborhoods and whatnot, all looking good for the future of Northwest Indiana. So congratulations on that. Mr. Griffin mentioned the working on the 2021 meeting schedule. We'll continue to firm that up with Mr. Griffin and then send you that in advance so you can get those dates on your calendars. We've been working to plan for that, so stay tuned for that coming shortly. And then the last thing I want to do is just to first of all, Mayor Spebar's already been welcomed, but I want to welcome him onto the commission. If we were meeting in person, you would get a gold pin, which I had actually to grab, and I forgot to grab it right here by my computer. So I was going to hold that up. But you get a nice gold pin, which we'll get to you thanks to the work of others on this commission that helped make those pins available, and who wish to remain anonymous, although I think Michael Griffin had a lot to do with that. And then just also wanted to take a moment to just thank our outgoing Commissioner Diane Knoll, who is our past chair. Diane has decided to retire after this year, and she is on the call here today, but this is her last meeting. And just wanted to thank her again for all of her service, for letting us cajole her into being one of the officers and the chair, and taking that on with flying colors, and to thank her for her service, not only to NERC, but to Wanata, and to wish her well. So thank you, Diane. And that is all I have, unless there are others that I am unaware of that will be.
Thank you, Ty.
Okay. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you for all your kind words.
It's been a pleasure. It's been great to have you on, and we wish you well in your retirement.
Thank you.
And if there's anyone else that is planning to go off the commission, if this is your last year with us, I'm not aware of that. But if you'd like to make yourself known, be glad to congratulate you as well. Otherwise, that concludes my report.
Hi, thank you very much. And thank you for your leadership always. And we'll be circling back, I think, soon to talk about the nominating committee as well for next year. It's now time to recognize Madam INDOT, the Venerable Laporte Deputy District Commissioner for the INDOT report.
Wow, such a welcome. I gotta hire you to walk around behind me in town crier style. Good morning, everybody. Just wanted to touch on a couple things. Community crossings obviously did wrap up the call last month. We are hoping, certainly by the end of the year, we should hear about those awards, but likely sooner than that. So I would not be surprised in the next few weeks to hear something. So stay tuned on that. Just want to let everyone know, since our trucks are driving through your towns and cities all the time, that our winter ops are ready to go. So hopefully it doesn't snow, but I think we all know it will. I'd like to see it wait a little while though. So our fleet is all ready. We're all stocked up with salt and all the materials we need. And we actually have some new equipment this year that we're really excited about, some automated vehicle logistics equipment where we're going to be able to better track our trucks and see the exact salt output, their speed, and different type of what they're doing out there. That way we're going to increase our efficiency out there. So hopefully after some statistics are in, we'll be able to see some even better treatment of the roads out there, which are obviously your roads as well. So we're looking forward to that. It should be pretty good. Obviously with COVID, we are having some challenges as well. Most of us, as you can see behind me, are working from home, except for our essential workers. They are still out there at the maintenance units and they're doing that hard work. So we're thankful for them, but we are doing a lot of different type of tactics to help those folks with sanitizing and face masks and spacing things out. So we're doing everything we can to help combat the pandemic, just as I know all of you are as well too. So, but as of right now, we're still going strong and we're looking forward to a good winter season, hopefully nice and quiet. That would be nice. The last two things I wanted to bring up was, some of you may have heard we had some public involvement hearings recently. Recently, we had one, I think last week it was, on the proposed roundabout for State Road 55 and 73rd Avenue in Maryville. And that's going to be built, the construction for that will be 2022 as planned right now. Also, we had, I think earlier this week actually, the Dogbowl interchange modification at 65 and 109th there in Crown Point, a public hearing on that. Due to COVID, we've added some virtual components that we never have done before, and we are really pleased with how well they went. So I think that, God willing, when this pandemic is all past us, we'll still have those virtual components and allow more people to participate in the public hearing. So, there are some bright sides coming out of this as we all battle our way through the pandemic. That's really all I had to report. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them as best I can, or you're always welcome to contact me after the meeting.
Matt?
Yes.
Matt, this is Jim Tunn. I just wanted to congratulate the department and you as its leader for a tremendous job you did on the bridge repairs on State Road 49 through our town. It was done well, and it was all removed on November the 1st, as you said that it would be. So that was very much appreciated. Thank you for excellent job on that.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for the comments. I appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? Sorry, Michael.
No, not at all. I was just making sure that everybody who wanted to speak to you had a chance to. No one else? Matt, it may not be it may not be something that you've been able to get information about, but I am interested in if INDOT working with the LSA has made a determination about any improvements in gas tax collections. That won't affect us right away anyway because of the lag time and the non-alignment of the state's fiscal year with our local. but has it been improving at all?
You know, I really am not sure. It's been such a challenging year across the board in terms of, and I'm assuming you're referring to the traffic volumes and how that's relating to our funding. Yeah, so, you know, early in the year, our biggest hit was probably April. April and March were really a big hit. Things have come back, not 100%, but we're confident that things will continue to improve. But unfortunately, of course, this holiday season's coming up, and our typical holiday season, I don't think we will see that. So all that speculation. But in terms of what we've seen to this point, following May, things had bounced back considerably, but still not 100%. So we're doing the best we can. But it has been a hit for sure.
Do you have any information with regard to the status? I know the governor has said he's committed to trying to keep community crossings consistent with the scheduling that had been in place before. Do you know anything further about that, whether or not it'll be at the same levels or not?
I don't know. I know that this program is extremely important to both Commissioner McGinnis and the governor, and myself as well. We all take great pride in the program, and I think we're going to do everything we can to make sure it continues. As of right now, there is a call scheduled for January, but knowing as things have increased with the pandemic, yeah, could that change? It always could. I have not received no word that it will. But as of right now, it's still scheduled for January. But again, I want to reiterate that everyone takes great pride in this program, and I think they're going to do everything they can to continue it if possible.
I appreciate that, Matt. And my sense was I thought they would still do the calls. It would be whether or not there'd be the same amounts being available.
Right.
But
I don't believe that's been discussed at length just yet.
Very well. Highland was a recipient recently of a very significant size. When we got up to $1 million, we didn't need it after the bidding was done, and all that work has been completed, and our residents appreciate it. And frankly, without it, we would have to do bonding, and we don't want to do much of that because it's impact on tax caps. So it's a great program, and we get very good response from the department. And I love to always point out that the governor has reached down to municipal leadership. Commissioner Commissioner McGinnis is the former mayor of Franklin. He actually got picked for the job because he has one of the many mayors that used to complain about NDOT not being responsive to them as mayors. And so the governor, in his sense of irony, decided to put him in charge. And I think it helps. I'm glad that he has a high regard for municipal talent.
And Michael, since you mentioned that, I would like to say too that, you know, I know you guys have heard me preach this constantly. As a former communication director, that's absolutely important to me, communication. And I think that's where our biggest challenges have been in the past. Yes. I have done my very best to improve communication amongst all the locals in my area. Just last week, I had the privilege to meet Mayor Speedbar. I was thankful for that. So that will continue under my watch. And I cannot say enough that if anyone has questions or comments or anything they need from me, my door is always open. My phone is always available.
Well, I appreciate the way in which you serve and lead. Thank you for that. Does anyone else have a question for Matt?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Brown, yes. Is there a brief description of the Hoosier Helper program? How does one, if I'm traveling on 94, how would I know if I had a flat tire that help is coming soon? I have not ever seen any means of a person knowing. So if something could get out to every elected official in the area saying, if you get a call or interest in this program, here's what happened. So is there a brief description of, yes, help is on the way?
So, and I assume I could hear most of what you said. I believe the Hoosier Helpers program is what you're referring to, and how people that are on the side of the road can realize that they are receiving some help in the future. Is that your question, sir?
Yes.
Okay. So as of right now, you know, there is no real notification to let folks know that is happening. But what I can say is, to my knowledge, anyone who's stuck on the side of the road on 9465 in our Hoosier Helpers area, we are watching those 24/7. I have myself several times been in our traffic management center, the TMC, and they have hundreds of cameras, and all they do is sit and watch. So I understand completely the request, and that's the part of the challenge, is to let folks know that there is help on the way. But I can assure you that those folks watching those cameras 24/7, that's their only job, and their only job is to send help as soon as they see someone. So I have yet to hear of anyone who didn't have a speedy help on the way. So that doesn't really answer your question, because I don't have a contact for a way to let folks know that. But I can assure you that they have, that's their job, is to make sure they send help immediately.
But You did answer my question. My point is, can that information be disseminated to every elected official in Lake County so that when they get those inquiries, they can say, help is on the way because there's someone out there watching 24/7?
I can certainly provide some. I've been but I'll send that information to our webpage on the Future Helpers on the end of the webpage, but it's got information, but I'll make sure I get that to you.
Yeah.
Maybe we could disseminate that through the mailing list of NERC. That would be a good start because you have essentially 43 cities and towns, the 3 counties, and just letting them know that that's, in case we're interested, there's constant surveillance of 8094 in the corridor that's served by the Hoosier Helper.
Yeah.
And while we can't directly tell people that help is on the way, it's likely to be on the way because somebody's always watching.
Right.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown, for that suggestion.
And I can deliver that to the front office of NERC and make sure that that information is delivered to you folks, and you can distribute that.
Thank you.
That'd be great, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? I should have said, anyone else? I didn't want it to seem like I want you to feel free to come. I beg your pardon for that. Hearing none, Matt, thank you again. And again, thank you for your servant-hearted leadership, and we appreciate what you do there. Thank you. And thank you for joining us at every meeting. We appreciate that very much.
You bet.
I now ask if any commissioner has any other business that they wish to raise or notice of a future matter that they wish to bring before the commission.
Michael Griffin, Bob Carnahan.
I knew it was Commissioner Carnahan even before you said it was. Commissioner Carnahan.
All right. I would like to go to Ty. He talked about the electric stations and he mentioned 2 counties. Are we just have 2 counties, and who are those 2 counties?
Actually 2 regions. So two of the metropolitan planning organizations. So it's in the area of NERC and MACOG, which is the Michiana Area Council of Governments around South Bend. So whatever that number of counties is, I don't have the exact list of where those stations are going, but I know South Shore Clean Cities does. And I think there'll be a very formal announcement coming out very soon with those. But Lori, I know you're on. I don't know if you want to jump in or add anything.
All right. Thank you, Ty.
That's right. Yeah, you bet.
Michael,
Is there any
yes, please.
Oh,
go ahead,
sure.
I apologize. All counties are represented in receiving stations, and there are, I believe, and I'm afraid I'm going to get this wrong, but I know there's 24 across northern Indiana, but there are stations within each of the NERC counties. There's a nice distribution, and the VW committee did take into consideration locations and proximities to other electric vehicle charging stations. So we will have a formal announcement coming soon. Thank you.
So it would be definitely St. Joseph County and probably Elkhart County. That would be part of the Michiana MACOG group, I believe. I think that's the 2. There may be one other county I'm missing. Just south.
I think they have 5. They have several.
5?
They have several.
Right.
So it's really spread across northern Indiana, but Lake Porter and LaPorte counties are very well represented, and we've worked hand in hand with NERC for this, as well as NIPSCO. I should mention they pledged $500 in matching funds for some of the applicants that met certain criteria. So we will be making announcements about that as well. They were very helpful and a wonderful partner in this project.
Thank you, Lori. And it's always, I'm glad you're always with us. Thank you for that too.
Thank you. Appreciate being recognized. Thank you.
Mary Tanis, did you wish to say something? I thought you started and then
Yes.
you want to hear about that.
I know Ty was there, but the groundbreaking for the leg of the South Shore down to the Munster-Dyer border took place a couple weeks ago. Pretty impressive. And certainly our new motto here is Discover Dyer, and we're going to work on our comprehensive plan. We have a presentation on December the 2nd. So I'll be part of all of this. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. Nice to see you, Ty.
Nice to see you. Thank you. And congratulations on that plan. Just so you know, the consultant reached out to us to give us a private one-on-one briefing on it. So they're very excited about it, and we're looking forward to diving into it more. Yep.
I'm excited about that too. I feel like it was the first time that we as a region were able to do something that would endure, that was bigger than all of us combined. I feel like we need to do more of that. I honestly, when I tried to get my council convinced to participate in the initial funding sharing and reminded them that all of us who have children or nieces or nephews, let's do something that we know that will be there for them. And it's so hard sometimes to think about that when we're trying to make our municipalities work year to year. So I'm glad, and I'm very glad our neighbors in Dyer are going to have that. And maybe someday I'll get on a train and visit you by just getting on a train and going down and seeing you instead of my car. I look forward to it. Is there anyone else who wishes to offer an announcement at this time? Because we sort of moved into that part of the agenda. No announcements?
Bob Carnahan.
Commissioner Carnahan, please.
I would, since we're not going to meet in December, I would like to wish all of my colleagues a very happy Thanksgiving and a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure that all of us feel the same towards you and wish you that as well, and to all of your neighbors there as well. If there's no other announcements, we know that we won't
Actually, Mr. Chair, if I could, I'm very sorry to interrupt. So I didn't realize until Joyce Newland made a comment in the chat that she had joined us today. Joyce Newland is with the Federal Highway Administration and has served us for a very, very long time. And she is also retiring at the end of this year.
Oh no.
She often does join us by means from Indianapolis, but has occasionally actually attended in person as well. So just wanted to thank Joyce for her service as well.
Is she in a position to be able to speak back? Would she like to offer some comments to us today?
Yes, good morning. Thank you very much. It's so funny. Everybody now is in this mode, and I'd always been in the phone mode. So now I have video. Well, I just wanted to say thank you very much, Ty. I've enjoyed working with you, your staff. I've enjoyed your meetings and all the things you guys are doing up there in the region. As I mentioned, we do have an alternative fuels corridor call for new corridors going out, and put that in the chat. And we're trying to make sure we have some dialogue going on about that with the Clean Cities and various other state agencies. I would also like to introduce my coworker, Robert Dirks. I think he's just on as Robert, but Robert Dirks will be taking over the Northwest Indiana as the Federal Highway Administration contact. So just wanted to let you all know that. And my last day is December the 31st, but I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving and wonderful holidays. So thank you very much. I've enjoyed everything, and yeah, that's it.
Ms. Newland, on behalf of the commission, I'm sure that Ty will have a more collegial thing because he worked with you most directly than any of us. But I thank you for your wonderful service, and we welcome Robert. But I want to say now, Robert, you will succeed her, but you will not replace her. You will still be well remembered by us. So prosperity and another wonderful chapter in the book of your life after this retirement. Hi,
That's
Mr.
right. There's no replacement of Joyce. Absolutely no replacement of her. If I can do half as good a job as Joyce, then I'll consider myself successful.
I want you to know that in my living room, I have South Shore pictures that adorn my walls. So I want you to know that.
Very nice. Thanks. That's nice.
And I look forward to working with Ty and his staff and all of you to deliver the federal aid program. If there's anything I can do to help, I'm just a phone call away or email or a Teams meeting away. So I look forward to it.
Thank you, Robert. We of course value our partnership with Federal Highway, and Joyce, you will be missed. So all the best to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good. Are there any other announcements? I'm sorry, go ahead, Ty.
I'm sorry to keep jumping in here. I just in the chat,
director for heaven's sake.
Yeah, Julie Alvarado has put in, and just in case folks weren't following the chat, she wanted to make sure folks were aware that December 3rd is International Disability Awareness Day, and that there is a Governor's Council for People with Disabilities Town Hall on December 3rd for Northwest Indiana. I know they're doing those across the state. The one for Northwest Indiana is on December 3rd. So as she says, you can go to the website for the invite. So I'm sure if you were to Google the Governor's Council for People with Disabilities, I'm sure that information will pop up. I know we received notice of it, and I'm sure others did as well. So thank you, Zoe.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for that information and for that important day of commemoration and to make us more aware in ways that we need to be. to my colleagues on the commission, public service is demanding anyway. Its psychic payoff is maybe you get your name on a sign in a good place at the annual parades when you can have them. The pandemic has sort of arrested that. But we do believe we're trying to make the world that we live in just that little bit better. One of the things I've often said about NERC that to me amazes me, structurally it's made up of what, 52, almost 53 different elected officials that represent different regions. And we're basically in a democracy elected to do what's good or best for the people that we serve. And yet we transcend our structure here by thinking about what our neighbors need as well. So sometimes Highland thinks it's really important LaPorte gets money to make its roads nice, because we like to go to LaPorte, because I love to go and visit. I go through there actually on my way to see my sister-in-law's farm in Cassopolis, Michigan. So we all are interrelated and we're all are linked. And I love NERC because it continues to be a triumph over its structure and being regional while made up of, 52 different parochial interests. And with that, among the things I'm going to be thankful for, and there are things to be thankful for, even in the midst of this pandemic, I'm going to be thankful for all of you. Thankful for the ways in which you encourage me. Thankful for all the work you're doing in your communities. Thank you for the ways in which you elevate our age by this kind of service you deliver, the examples that you set as servant leaders. And I thank the staff at NERC for doing much of the same thing to equip us and lead us in doing that. And I just want to remind you that even though there's a lot going on, it was Christopher Morley who once said that talent is formed in the world's stillness, but character is formed in its torrent. And these are character forming times, but we always have hope, and remember that hope never disappoints. If there's no further business before us today, I will adjourn this meeting of the full commission of the Northwest Indiana Regional Planning Commission. I thank you all. I wish you wonderful Thanksgivings. I wish you health and prosperity in the balance of your day and the balance of your lives. We are adjourned.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael, for your leadership.
Oh, you're kind.
Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you for those kind words. Ms. Eklund, if my count was wrong when you list all the names, because it could be 23 and not 22, either way, it's still passed. You're free to correct that in the minutes. For our vote on the stuff. Thank you. Everyone be well.
You as well, Mike.
Thank you too. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Michael.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone.
See you, Diane. Thanks for all the help.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Yeah, I'm going to end the meeting for all. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.